Question 4, Richard Lyle.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the First Minister what the Scottish Government's position is on the final report of the Penrose Inquiry.
First Minister.
As First Minister of Scotland and on behalf of the Government of Scotland and the NHS, I want to take this opportunity, Presiding Officer, to say a very sincere and heartfelt sorry to everyone who has had to deal with the devastating impact of infected NHS blood and blood products. I can't begin to understand the difficulties and the many hardships that individuals and their families have had to contend with. It is important that we apologise to them openly and without reservation, and I do so today on behalf of the Government of Scotland and the NHS. I established the Penrose Inquiry because I felt it was absolutely vital that we understand the series of events which led to such a devastating impact on so many people, and I am determined now, as First Minister, that we do everything possible to give all of those affected the support that they deserve. The Health Secretary will be making a full statement this afternoon setting out this Government's response to the inquiry findings, and I'm sure I speak for everyone across this chamber and indeed across Scotland in saying that we must do everything in our power to make sure that terrible events like these never ever happen again.
Richard Lyle.
Can I thank the First Minister for her answer? And I note that, as she has said, the First Minister was responsible for commissioning the inquiry as the then Health Secretary. As you will be aware, some of those impacted by the report have called it a whitewash. What steps will this Government take to supporting those families, to ensuring time for a debate in this chamber to discuss those views and the inquiry in general?
First Minister.
Well, I can obviously understand the feelings, the frustration, even the disappointment of all of those affected by these dreadful events. I was struck particularly, though, by comments that Bill Wright of Haemophilia Scotland made yesterday, and I thought he was correct in his assessment that despite his disappointment, and I'm quoting here, there is a narrative setting out the case that cannot be avoided by the Government and its moral responsibility, and I certainly accept on behalf of the Scottish Government that responsibility. Let me make it very clear, Presiding Officer, that we regard the publication of the report as the start of a process of further engagement with those affected, rather than an end to the investigations into these tragic events. Taking account of the wider report findings and in consultation with patients and families, we will act to implement the recommendation of the report and take forward the review of financial support as a matter of urgency. We recognise that direct payments are only part of the support package for those affected. We will also therefore implement pilots of increased psychological and social work support with a view to putting in place a national service, and will also provide further funding to Haemophilia Scotland and the Scottish Infected Blood Forum, who provide a valuable peer support, mentoring and advice function. I, in opposition, campaigned for justice for all of those affected by infected blood and blood products. As Health Secretary, I set up the Penrose Inquiry. Now that I am First Minister, I am absolutely determined that we do everything we can to deliver justice and support to those who have suffered so much.
Question 5, Neil Findlay.